and welcome to Two Words Wolves Pod. I'm Ryan Eichten. With me is Leo Son. Leo, how you doing?
I am doing okay, but first and foremost, I have to say you are welcome, Wolves Nation. Timberwolves are finally healthy, seemingly for the first time forever, but I will say it came at the cost of me making a sacrifice on my own. I sacrificed my own right calf playing basketball and pick up in a tournament this last week, and so I did it purely just to get the Wolves back healthy. So, people always put it online after the Wolves go down or a player goes down with an injury where it's like, no, take mine instead. Well, I gave up my calf. So I'll be all right. I'll heal up. But if it means that the Wolves can play healthy, then, I'll stay on the mend for a while. No problem.
Yeah, I'm in a similar boat. I've been sick the past day or two. Such as life as a parent. Kiddo gets you sick all the time, but you push through. I wasn't able to attend the Spurs game, but obviously getting healthy myself is far more important than attending a basketball game. But yeah, anything new with you, Leo, other than the basketball injury?
No, I mean, it's crazy to think about how close we are in the final quarter of the season already. It felt like this season was a bit disjointed. It felt like there was multiple seasons in one season with this team. And so the fact that we're rounding to the final stretch of 20 some games or less than 20 games now is kind of wild to think. Also, we're already, mid-March at the day of this recording right now that, there's only really about a month left in the season. And it's crazy to think that, yeah, even summer is not that far away. It's just a stone throws away from the end of the season. So yeah, it's been quick.
Yep, the weather is finally heated up in Minnesota. It's a nice spring day. Everything is just mud everywhere. Obviously, all the snow melts and it's just a mud pit pretty much everywhere. But we'll take that over the rolling snow hills.
Yeah, it's been a little bit cold here. I mean, it's been about like in the mid 70s here, which is a little bit colder than we're used to. But we'll
Okay.
take it here in Cali. So
Well, mid 50s here is like a day at the beach. So all right, well, let's just dive right into it. Our first howl or foul topic: Julius Randle has averaged 17.6 points per game, 8.2 rebounds per game, and 7.2 assists per game. And the Wolves have won all five of their last game over that statistical time span. Howl or foul, Leo, Randle's newfound pace and style is here to stay.
I'm going to howl on this one. Anyone who's been watching Julius play, even leading up to his groin injury, has seen that he's kind of started to turn a corner, but it's really appeared apparent in these last 5 games. If you listen to him in any of the media availability, whether it's in the post game or practice availability, anything like that, he really sounds like a guy who's took some time to reflect on what he needs to do and what he wants to achieve this season. I mean, not only that, I think Jim Peterson called it out in the Wolves broadcast. I mean, he came back looking really fit. I mean, he never looked like he was out of shape per se, but he really looked like he's someone that didn't just spend the time rehabbing a groin injury at home just from his couch. Like, he's been putting in work, and whether it's, you could say it's a contract year for him, because yes, he has a player option, but more than likely he's going to want a new contract extension. So he's technically in a contract year, but his wife either just gave birth or is about to just give birth to their third child as well too. So he really seems like a man who's been reflecting a lot on, okay, what do I want to accomplish, not just with the season, but with my career. And it's clear to see that he wants to win and he's willing to do whatever it takes. So for him, he talks about it recently about how, oh, I could be scoring. I spent so many seasons scoring the ball a lot. And now I'm realizing like that's not necessarily what this team needs me to do. And I'm okay with that. And so he's playing faster. He's driving to dish it out. He's not driving to draw a foul. He's not driving. I mean, he's been scoring, obviously, like you said, more than 17 points a game, which is great, but that's well below his recent season marks. And so yeah, I'm definitely a howl on that. I feel like he is really committed to this. And I think if he plays this way, I think it's really going to rub off on the rest of the team, as we've been seeing. But what about you, Ryan? Do you feel like Randle's newfound pace and style is here to stay?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you and go Howl. It's been impressive to see the turnaround he's had from the beginning of the season, where he was a large part of the team's struggles and why they weren't kind of meeting expectations. And it's been fun. We'll talk about Donte falls into this category too. It was a bit frustrating that right as Randle started to kind of play better and started to get on a roll, he got hurt. They had a 5-game before he exited the lineup with the injury, the Wolves had won 5 straight games. So the last 10 games Randle's played, the Wolves have won. And it's just been, there's still been like obviously some of the bad turnovers or slow pace or the post up stuff that isn't great, but I've liked kind of his ability to push the ball a little bit more, make quicker decisions is always a big thing with him. Where we saw it when all their guys were out, all the younger guys or just whoever was playing that night was able to like swing the ball, and the offense kind of seemed improved, even if like they weren't winning games at that point. And so it's been good to see like that aspect of the offense carry over as they get guys back healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's even in, I want to say it was the Spurs game most recently where he had a number of wild like highlight passes. I don't know how many times you can really say that. At first it was beginning of the season, Wolves fans are getting used to seeing him pound, 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 and then kind of throw up like a 100-mile fastball at a teammate. Which again, for all that's worth, he's still throwing fastballs right now as passes, but he hits a beautiful like 360 passes, just like in the air, or whether he's spinning with the ball in his hands and then just firing out blank like blindly over his shoulder corner for Nasri for three. I mean, that's been really crazy. So I think that intention has been really different. He's no longer driving all the time just to score. Like I said, I mean, yes, you mentioned Ryan. He's had some bad turnovers. Teams are scouting him and know that okay, he's gonna try and get back to his left hand or whatever. But his mindset has really seemed to change, and I think that's gonna be really, really pay really big dividends later on.
Yeah, and I think just people forget like when he was on the Knicks, he was an All NBA caliber player. He's that talented of a basketball player. Maybe he's not that anymore, or maybe that said more about like the pieces around him in New York at the time. But I just think like, especially like earlier in the year when people were really frustrated with him, probably us included at that time, I think it was we all needed to remember that like he is one of their more talented players, and whether and we can I honestly do want to push off the discussion of next year with him and what they want to do in that, like let's just worry about that later. But the best version of this team is clearly when Julius Randle is playing well. And it's certainly still true that they probably catered to him a bit too much early on, but the best version of this team is always going to be like maximizing everyone, like their most talented players, I should say. That includes Donte and that includes Randle, and kind of the stuff we were complaining about early in the year about not getting younger guys involved or sticking with the older lineups. I think is starting to pay off now, and it probably would have started to pay off earlier if they didn't go through so many injuries in February.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, as I mentioned earlier too, in those media availabilities, I mean, he talks so much about how he's learned a lot from just sitting and watching and really zoning in on okay, well, this is what I got to do and this is what the team's doing because he's seen that the Wolves didn't win a positive win loss ratio while he was out with injury, but he did see a lot of like positive things, the way that guys are getting unlocked by moving the ball, and so he seems committed to that. So if he does, and I think the Wolves remain that team that no one really wants to see in the postseason because you don't know what you're going to get with them sometimes in terms of okay, well they could beat anyone, they could lose to anyone, but if they continue on this 10-0 streak that Randle has been really been a key part of, then that's the team that no one's going to want to see, even if they have home court advantage.
Yep, exactly. I agree. That kind of moves us into my next topic because I was thinking about what it will look like against Denver because they've been playing kind of lesser opponents. So our Howler file next is the Wolves have played 5 straight against sub 500 teams, and the question is their current win streak mostly due to the quality of opponent? And I'm gonna say how, and not I mostly do probably not, but I do think like just in general big picture we do like underestimate like the non-basketball things, how it affects like a team. So like travel, I was impressed that I know Charlotte stinks, but I was impressed that they were easily able to beat Charlotte on the second night of back to back, and it was west to east where the game started an hour earlier. Like I was impressed by that, and I thought like when they lost to Utah without Ant, now that part of it was self-inflicted, but without two other starters in Utah, same thing where it was a tough travel thing. I was less like doom and gloom about that because I just felt like now it was still bad and it's still going to cost them potentially because like they would look a lot better standing wise with that win. But like, I just think in general, a lot of this stuff affects it a lot more than we like to think. That's both fans and people that like us write or cover about the team because it's like it's lame to just say, well, yeah, they've been playing crap opponents. Of course they're going to win, which isn't completely fair or completely true. But I do think like, I mean, I was screaming it for months. Like every time they like, especially during the All-Star break and coming out of it, it's like their schedule lightens up and they're going to start winning games. And a good example of that is so like they've won 5 straight against below 500 teams. They still have the easiest strength of schedule in the Western Conference by a good margin. Like that's how It wasn't just like a string of like they don't have two straight or more than two straight games against good opponents. So while it's not mostly due, they're certainly playing better, and we'll continue to talk about the areas that they're playing better. I do think like specifically winning 5 in a row has the opponents do have a lot to do with it.
Yeah, I can agree with that. For my answer, I'm going to say foul. In that I don't I do feel that like we just talked about you glaze over that Utah game, for example. So that was a game that Ant missed due to suspension, and that was Julius's last game before he returned. And Dante was playing, but yeah, Mike Conley played as well too. But I mean, that is a game that you can point to where it's like, well, they were playing perhaps one of their easiest opponents, within this last 6 game stretch, and they lost that game. And again, obviously, it was a winnable game. And again, so I'm not saying that the win streak being, due to the fact that's a lesser opponent, has nothing to do with it. But I think, that they've proven that it's perhaps not so much about an easy schedule, but it's about the Wolves getting healthy. And I think the
Mm-hmm.
fact that the Wolves being healthy has really been the main reason for why their win streak has come back. I mean, even we talk about Rudy and his comeback yesterday. I mean, yeah, it's the Spurs and they're rolling out Bismack Biyombo, who got signed off his couch, and Mamu. I don't even want to slaughter his last name. A guy who's in and out of the G League. Let's just say that.
Kabashvili, I believe.
Yes, Mamu Kashvili, I believe it is. But yeah, I mean, those are the guys that Rudy is kind of lining up against. So that was a great game to kind of work him back in. But even eye test wise, you look at how Rudy was playing in that game. He was playing a really solid brand of basketball too. I mean, there's one time that everyone kind of clutches, at like their couches as they're watching Rudy Gobert run down the court with the ball in a full court straight on the fast break. Like, whoa, 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 whoa. And again, that's not ideally who we want, but he made a calm, nice pass outlet. I think it led to it directly to a three. He was making some great short roll reads as well too, that we've kind of come to see a little bit more of this season as well too. And so he's fitting in as well too. I think he's seen Julius play differently. He's seen the rest of his teammates. He's seen Ant play maybe a little bit differently as well too, and that's rubbing off on him. And I think that health and being able to play together has really been the main reason for why they've won 5 in a row.
Yeah, for sure. The health is the biggest thing. It was frustrating to see them they win 5 in a row. Randle goes out. Donte had gone out the month prior, and they lose. I should know the number off the top of my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 out of 12 games. And I just wonder, like, what is their record? I mean, the first game they lose is that Wizards game without Ant, without like they're just missing everyone. And I just want they lose to the Kings by 2 without a bunch of their players. They probably still get blown out by the Cavs, but like they lose to Milwaukee without their 2 stars. Like I just wonder how many more wins they have if they do have their players. And maybe I mean, certainly the Wolves have, in the grand scheme of things, gotten the better end of the injury luck this year because their first whole half of the season, basically no one got hurt. And even during that stretch I'm talking about, do they win both Thunder games if they had taken care of business against Milwaukee or Washington? I don't know. So it's probably a fool's errand to go through and nitpick every single loss that was due to injuries because I can certainly pick out a game or two that, they beat Philly. Like Philly didn't have anyone. So it's just like probably fool's errand. But I do think that certainly they were going on a run before Randle got hurt, and now they're going on a run again while Randle's healthy. I don't think that's a coincidence. To me, this team is better than their record shows. It's not to say they don't have flaws. It's not to say I think they can or they will reach whatever ceiling they had last year. But I do think, kind of like you said, they do have a pretty solid playoff ceiling. And like looking at, I see so much like the Warriors are getting a bunch of hype right now as like the people contenders are in the West are like the Thunder, the Nuggets, the Warriors, or the Lakers and the Warriors. And I'm just like, the Wolves are either better or in the same class as the Warriors, I think. I even think I think the Wolves would certainly have a punter's chance against pretty much everyone in the West. Maybe not OKC. That's a team that's obviously been fantastic this year. So I'm excited to see where the rest of the season goes because I do think if they can continue this, maybe they can catch. I mean, they're certainly trying to catch Golden State for 6. Is Houston Thompson's out? Is Houston in play for 5? So, yeah, it's gonna be a fun final stretch.
Yeah, I think the schedule is going to determine so much. And yeah, like you said, with the injury luck, yeah, it's been on the Wolves side, but it's not to say that we've benefited that much recently. I think those tough games that we've really be able to gut out with the young guys is, we could have very easily been in the 9-10 seed right now fighting for a spot,
Sure.
had we not snuck some of those games out. And so the fact that they did kind of fend for their own and survive with just under 500 balls is not terrible. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to see how they continue to coalesce as we move into this really, really important final stretch where, just like last season, I mean, it's the difference between first or second or third. It's just how those tiebreakers land out. And even in some of these games against lesser teams, the lesser than 500 teams, or um, division record's going to matter. So you look at some of those games that they have, against the Jazz, or you also think about like the conference games; those matter as well too, because it very much can come to a tiebreaker between some of those. I believe there's a couple of teams that we have split with, including the Kings, where that may matter whether or not we're playing at home, or maybe even in a single game elimination in the 9-10 if things kind of break wrong for us.
Yeah, and I do wonder, like last year, if they had won 2 extra games and they were the 1 seed. Probably, to me, I thought they were the best team that year in the West, other than obviously Dallas, who in the regular season was not as good as the Wolves. Like, what happens? Do they make the finals if they're the 1 seed? Would be like a question. And I don't know. It's hard to say because I mean, so they would have gotten New Orleans. Obviously, they sweep New Orleans without Zion, and they played Dallas rested instead of coming off the Denver 7 game series. I mean, the first 2 games of that series are close. They talking myself that they probably still lose that series in like 6 or 7 because Dallas was just better than them. But I do wonder. It just shows the importance of every single game, and certainly like standings watching the Warriors are the biggest one because um they're tied in the last column with the Wolves at the moment.
Yep.
Yeah, we talk about getting healthy. One of those guys has been Donte DiVincenzo, who has just been absolutely scorching since he's gotten back. He's made 4.6 threes during this 5-game winning streak. Only Steph has made more over that time frame. So Howell Dante's perimeter scoring is the key to the Wolves' offense explosion of late.
I'm going Howell on this one for sure. I mean, you talk about the Warriors, maybe people viewing them as a potential boogeyman. I mean, that's a former Warriors that has an inside look at how how their scheme and system runs in there, so he could be a little double agent for us. But yeah, Dante. I mean, over these last 5 games, I mean, he's just been absolutely on fire. You mentioned that stat about him shooting or making 4.6 threes per game in the last 5. I mean, he's shooting 54% on those threes as well too, which is nuts. That's even like 12 points above what Steph is shooting percentage wise this recent 5 game stretch. And is that sustainable? Who knows? I mean, we talk about Ant's shooting in the beginning about how, okay, well, that's not sustainable. Ant's not going to shoot and make that many threes for that long, but he has. And now you couple that with Dante. I mean, that pairing itself. I mean, I look at the Wolves' offensive rating. I mean, they've in these last 5 games, we keep talking about that, but that's a good barometer of when they've been getting healthy. Their offensive rating has been a 125.1, which is third in the NBA. Weirdly enough, I think San Antonio was first or something like that during that time. But then I think it's like the Celtics. But yeah, there's been a lot of factors at work. But I think being number 1 in 3-point attempts in that stretch, so they're shooting 45.6 threes per game. That's first. And also being first at 3-point percentage, 45.6%, is a little bit reminiscent of the beginning of the season when we talked about like, all right, what is the Wolves' key to being able to increase their offensive rating that, was hurting them so much in the playoffs last year, and shooting more threes and taking more threes and making them clearly is going to be a big reason why. And so, I always love coming back to this. Ryan, are the beers incoming? I mean, I know the defense is still rated a little bit higher than the offense right now, but if it keeps going at this rate, the Wolves may be scraping at that top 5 offensive rating. It might be too late, but don't count the Wolves out. They keep shooting and playing on this heater that they've been on. Anything can happen.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to get to that point because just with how many games are left, the defense isn't going to fall lower than 7th. And just like looking at total, like there's just not enough sample left to get up to 7th for the offense. So I'm probably going to win that, but it's certainly going to be a lot closer. I mean, for them to be 10th on the season when they were like over the first quarter of the season they were like 21st has been impressive. I should just like the last 15 games offensively. Now they're 11th, so it's not been the last 15 games, but like it's been impressive that the offense has been able to do so well, and that's kind of why last night was encouraging because they were able to do it with Rudy out there. Now he only played 20 minutes, coming back from injury, but still, that'll be the big thing. And we've kind of talked about the last couple weeks is this whole season is going to come down to how they get everyone playing together because they have like the theoretical talent to beat any team. Ant's as good of a top star as anyone's got. Randle and company and McDaniels and Nas and all those guys are as good of 2 through 10 players, including like Clark, Shannon, and even like Dillingham is like an 11th man. Like those are as talented or quality players as really anyone's got. I'm not saying more than anyone, but like there's not going to be a lot of series where the Wolves go and talent wise they're outmatched. So what it's going to be is, can they get like playing greater than the sum of their parts, which they have rarely, if ever, done that this season. But like honestly, all of Wolves history probably haven't really. I mean, you could probably name like 3 teams in Wolves history that have played above their talent level. It's obvious. It's honestly like last year, the year they lost to Memphis, and like 2004, and that's probably it as far as like. So they need to do that. They need to figure out, and it's been encouraging the last 5 games, even against bad teams, to see it like everyone play well together. Because certainly earlier in the year it was the exact opposite, where it seems like any lineup combination they threw out there was impossible to work with.
Yeah, I don't want to say that. I mean, it's easy. I mean, hindsight's 2020, right? When you can always go back and be like, oh, well, clearly this was what's best, or this is what was worse. But last year, I mean, the Wolves spent so much of the year at the top of the standings, right? I mean, they were cruising along, top of the West, one of the contenders for so long, and it's not a bad thing that they were number one for so long, but you saw that obviously start to kind of grind down on them by the second, third round of the playoffs, where at that point, I mean, they were tired. I mean, they were performing at a high level, which is good, but they kind of grinded down, and you can almost say they hit their stride a little too early, like one series too early, or 1 or 2 series too early. Where this Wolves team right now, I mean, they're starting to hit their stride right now, and maybe that's best. Is that they had to go through their bumps and bruises earlier on. I mean, you could say that last year, their bumps and bruises came 2 seasons ago, but I mean, this season, you just look at it, just lone year by lone year. It seems like right now, ramping up again. It's not always about who's been playing best all year. It's who's playing the best come April, May, and June. That's the most important time. And so the Wolves continue trending in this direction. That's great.
Yep. One thing that they can do to try to keep people healthy or keep from wearing down like they did last year is kind of lengthening the rotation. They did that against San Antonio. They played 10 guys, which is something they haven't really done all year. Well, I guess they played 14 guys, but before or 15, before garbage time, they were playing 10 guys, which was their starting or their usual 8 from the beginning of the year, along with Clark and Shannon. And that's not even including Dillingham, who obviously was getting minutes before everyone came back. So my question for Hal or Foul is, lengthening the rotation is the right approach for the rest of this season?
I'm going to say Hal. We've seen it continue to pay dividends, obviously, during the injuries, but then now as they're coming back, there's just a lot more options and weapons. That's when you look at a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder, for example. They have so many weapons. They have so many awesome players, role players coming off the bench, where maybe they're not necessarily starters for contenders right now, but I mean, they're absolutely NBA players that should be starters for some tanking teams, and that's what the Wolves kind of have right now. I think if they continue to do that, that will only really help them be a lot more dynamic and be able to play different ways. I mean, for example, I mean, I don't expect every night to be consistent. It depends on the game. It depends on the game situation, on the opponent, and things like that. But guys like Jalen Clark and TJ Shannon have shown that they can and should be playing, even if it's in a limited role. I mean, you saw that yesterday. They didn't play a whole gang of minutes, but Finch is rewarding them. I mean, when Jalen was out there, he was playing his butt off on defense and really frustrating players. And even TJ, I think at one point in the game, Jeremy Sohan tried to like bully TJ in the paint. Like, I don't know why you would ever go to Jeremy Sohan in the paint, like in a post up, but he tried to back TJ down. He just wasn't having it. He just kind of pushed him back out with his weight and his girth. And then I think Jeremy Sohan either fumbled it, turned it over, just took a really terrible shot. And so, you get those quality minutes, and it energizes not just the team, but it energizes those specific players to continue to go out there. Like, you know what? If I know I'm going to get in here and maybe play 10, 12 minutes tonight, like, I don't have to sit there and just be like, all right, well, I'm just stand in the corner and not do anything. It's like, I'm going to have a role out there, and Finch is going to implore them to do that. So absolutely, I'm a Hal for that. What about you, Ryan? Do you think the Wolves lengthening the rotation is the right approach moving forward?
Yeah, I agree, Hal. It's been one thing that has good come out of that injury stretch where they were losing some games was that the Wolves got a look at a lot of players. Like, like Jalen Clark basically wasn't playing before what was that first game in Utah. Shannon wasn't playing much until both of like Ant and Mike were out, and those guys have obviously been awesome. The Wolves really need Rob Dillingham, maybe not this year, but eventually to become a quality NBA player, maybe like a starting point guard level player. And they got some look at him, and I think they certainly learned that like, while I believe Rob has the greatest ceiling of that group. Certainly, right now in the short term, he's probably the least valuable on the court of the rookies. But there were games where he was awesome too, and I don't know if they'll be able to find him minutes much down the stretch of the season. But I do think that just leaning into more players, or at least like, we don't need to play Ant 36 minutes. We don't need to play Jaden 40 minutes. Like, take a couple minutes from those guys. Take some minutes from Nikhil or Donte, and make sure that you have at the very least 9 full players, and really 10 is probably with Clark and Shannon. And there's going to be games where those guys there's not a matchup for him, and they're just not having it, and maybe you just sit them down in the second half, or maybe there's games where either or both of them look fantastic and you play them more. And that's probably really the case with the entire roster. I said this early in the year that I kind of felt like Ant was the only guy that like 100% should play down the stretch of every single game. And I kind of still do believe that. Like, there's games, thinking about like the 3 bigs, Randle, Gobert, and Nas. Like, there's each game there's probably like whatever two person, maybe even 3 if you want to play the 3 centers, but like there's a 2-person combination that's going to work best for that game. Less so recently, maybe Jaden is kind of ascended that should close every single game, but there were certainly times early in the year where Jaden probably didn't need to close a game. And then obviously Mike versus Donte at the point guard has kind of been or maybe you play, like I said, the 3 bigs, Jaden, and I don't know, like just being more flexible with that. They haven't needed to, because there hasn't really been a close game. I guess the Miami game was close, but I didn't feel like the lineup was the incorrect one down the stretch of that game, and it wasn't the Heat
became
backdoored
a close game. It became
the close game there, so it wasn't exactly like a tied with 4 minutes left. Here we go. Yeah, it's been good to see that Finch has been a little bit more flexible with the lineup.
I know there are a lot of Wolves fans out there that were watching the Spurs game yesterday on Sunday evening, and the Wolves were up 20 with just over 6 minutes left in the game, and there was just a couple minutes of kind of yickety yak going on, just in terms of like turning the ball over, kind of getting a little bit loose. And then you see Ant start walking to the scorer's table with a little over 6 minutes left, and then Finch just kind of grabs him and was like, no, go sit down. And I know that there are Wolves fans out there that was like, oh my God, I can't believe Finch finally is allowing Ant to rest at the end of the game, despite the Wolves being up 20, because, it might sound small, but I think, Finch he's learning too. He's trying to find ways to get guys his rest. And he knows how much of a load Ant has really had to carry while the other guys have been out. And so, we saw in the Miami game that you're just talking about, Ant was sick or he partied too hard in Miami, whatever was going on with them, he clearly did not look right. There were times in the game where the camera just literally zoomed in Ant on the bench with his head kind of hung over with the towel over his face. He's almost like talking to himself, like trying to get to the end of it. And yeah, I think it is time. Like, we need Ant fresh as we kind of get down the stretch. Like, we need to get him as much rest as possible. So yeah, lengthening that rotation, Finch making some calls, not pulling the plug, or pulling the plug a little bit earlier than he needs to on, a win that looks like it's going to be out of hand is a good thing.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Ant. Ant's been like the reason why like I've never gotten to the doom and gloom Wolves Twitter point of view for this season, just because like thinking about last year's playoffs, how many players in last year's playoffs were better than Ant? I think it's 3. It's Jokic, it's Luka, and probably Tatum. And even Tatum, I don't know, you win the title, you get the benefit of the doubt there. Like, what other players? That's it. He played better than every single other player. He was dropping 40 points every night, seemingly. Like, that is so much more. Having a player like that is so important. And we don't need to rehash the Luka Doncic thing. It's that having that type of player is so much more important than almost everything else. That it's been just kind of like, just get in the playoffs, preferably get in the playoffs, and don't face the Thunder in the first round. Like, let's just get in the playoffs, and we'll figure it out from there almost. Like, and I think that's why it's important to like get him down the stretch healthy. Can you limit his minutes? Now, the one thing that's nice is that they don't like they've played all their games. They all their all their tough travel schedule is behind them. They have a huge homestand coming up, and even they have one more long road trip. But honestly, I think having a 5-game homestand followed by a 5-game road trip, I think is much preferable than 1 and 1 like back and forth like they had early in the year. They have 2 back-to-backs left the entire season, and only one of them has travel for it. They finished the season with 2 home games, so that'll be nice if you're able to not get out of the play-in tournament, or even if they're likely the 7 seed, like they're going to be at home for a while, which is probably good travel ice. And I say this because they do need to conserve legs. That's a big reason why they lost to Dallas, and why the Denver series dragged on as long as it did. That and Jokic is incredible, and so that is the biggest focus to me as like winning games and getting out of the play-in tournament, is making sure you get there healthy and get there with your best player, not like you said, not tired at the end of series.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that.
All right, let's move on to our Apex Alpha. Leo, who is your leader of the pack this week?
I'm going with Mr. Slim, Jaden McDaniels. Jaden has been playing out of his mind, as we've known for the past couple weeks now. But I think there's a little bit of worry when Julius was coming back and Donte was getting in the rotation. Now Rudy's back. Is like, okay, well, can Jaden McDaniels sustain this? Because we've seen flashes, we've seen stretches in his 4 to 5 years in the league so far where, he's kind of had a slight uptick in scoring, but then just immediately goes back down. And I think since Randle's return, aside from I think that very first half where I think Jaden took like one shot, Jaden has continued to score the ball, rebound the ball. He's been averaging 17.6 points, 17.6 points in these last 5 games since Randle's return, which is second on the team. It's tied with Julius Randle, and that includes shooting a surprising 40.9% from 3, which is surprising to me. And also just incredibly laughable 59.4% field goal percentage from the field, which is nuts. So, I mean, the fear was that he would tail off. And aside from, like I said, that initial kind of hesitation, like, all right, well, Jaden doesn't go back to standing in the corner. But, there'd be some times where he was missing some shots. But for the most part, Jaden has been extremely solid. He's been doing everything that he needs to do out there. And yeah, I mean, it's something that like, the eye test really matches what we're seeing out there. He's playing so confident right now. It seems like every time he's catching the ball and ripping and just going straight to the rim. Like, I don't know if he's been practicing or watching the success that TJ Shannon's really been having out there, but when Jaden's going to the rim, I mean, you expect him to score. I mean, yeah, like I said, 59%, which is going to be, closer to the 60% range on twos. That's something that's, going to be so invaluable because I feel like for the first time in his career, Jaden is playing like he's learning how big he really is, how much bigger and lengthier than he is than everyone else, where he's just going up, or even if he leans back, I mean, his release point is so high. It's kind of KD-esque, where it's hard to block his shot when he's leaning back and fading away like that. So, yeah, my apex is Jaden McDaniels because, again, if he continues playing at this rate, I'm very, very confident in the Wolves' ability to win at least one round this playoff once the playoffs come around.
Yeah, Jaden has been awesome after probably, I don't know what the cutoff would be, but the first part of the season was not playing well. I felt like the defensive impact wasn't there like it's been the past couple of years, and I just thought like there's starts to worry about like his extension, was that worth it? And ultimately, I think people, myself included, like need to come to grips with like the increased salary numbers, like paying a guy $30 million, like that is kind of role player money. Obviously, like we don't project Jaden to be a role player his entire career or whatever, but like 30 million used to be star money that only like Steph got or whatever, and now 30 million is like, yeah, that's your third guy in the roster. So that part of it's insane. And thinking about like the KD stuff, if that's going to be a thing, the rumors are going to be a thing. Whether that, I mean, I saw the report that they want 3 first-round picks and a young player. It's like, good luck with that. They're not getting that. But Jaden certainly played himself out of a KD trade. That'd be a poor decision at this point. So
yeah, sorry, Ryan, I gotta say, I mean, like with this Jaden McDaniels contract thing, I mean, I absolutely get it. Yeah, early in the season, yeah, it's like, was this worth it? Right? Was this a huge mistake by Tim Connolly? But the Wolves just played the Spurs. There's a guy who is on almost exact same contract that Jaden is on. His name is Devin Vassell. And every time I watch Devin Vassell play the Timberwolves, I'm always like, okay, is this guy? I mean, obviously he's younger than Jaden, but not by a lot. But he's younger than Jaden. But who would I rather have on the same contract? And when you watch that game, it's kind of tough to compare, apples to apples here because obviously the Spurs are just kind of a shell of a team right now. Without Wemby out there, they're not even close to contending. But I mean, you look at what Jaden can do on both sides of the ball compared to what Devin Vassell could do. It's like clearly there's a player that's better than the other, and he plays on the Timberwolves.
Yeah, that's true. And just like I said with Dillingham, like they're going to need Jaden to be this type of player moving forward. They're going to, if they don't make some sort of move, they're going to lose a player from this roster, whether it's Nikhil, Nas, or Randle, or trade someone else to make that work or whatever. Like the talent, their talent is going to, because of the money, you're going to lose some talent, and so they're going to need to replace that with both like draft picks or whatever trades they can make, but also just like in-house people like him and Nas and Dillingham getting better. So it's been really cool to see his ascension and that it's carried forward with Randle back in the lineup and now with Gobert. My apex alpha is Chris Finch. He's gotten a lot of crap this year, and for a lot of it, I would say rightly. I would say he, for a big portion of the season, has not done a good job with this team. And I think people hear that and they're like, well, he's a good coach. And I'm like, yeah, he is. But coaches, similar to players, it's less volatile, but coaches similar to players can have bad stretches, whether it's a month, a season, like whatever. You can have a bad stretch coaching, and it doesn't mean you're a bad coach. I think like with players, we all accept that. Like we all accept like some things are more or less variable, like shooting and whatever. But like if someone has a bad month, you don't say they're a bad player. You just say they're having a bad month, and you'd expect them to turn it around. And I think the same is true with Finch, that he's not done a good job in some areas, especially early in the year with the team struggling. But also, if we're gonna crush him for that sort of stuff, we got to give him his props that pretty much every person that they stuck with in the lineup or that people were screaming about to get out of the lineup or to cut him or whatever the heck, is playing well right now. McConley's playing well. Rudy just got back, but like Randle especially is playing well. Jaden, like I think like it's a good example of like giving people like some time looking at a whole sample. And it's not to say that I thought there was a lot of, especially like rotationally late in games, there's a lot of things that I disagreed with the decisions they made, but also that like you can say that, acknowledge what they're doing better now, and also realize like they do have more information. It doesn't mean they're always going to make the right decision, but it does mean that like they're coming to these decisions based on information. They're not, just because someone makes a bad or decision that you disagree with doesn't mean they're stupid. And it's like one thing that's frustrated with me with athletes and coaches is like, why did they do that? They're stupid. It's like they're not stupid. You can disagree, and like I said, I do, but like they're not stupid. They're coming to this decision with information.
Yeah, is there any other coach that you think you could say, like, you fire Chris Finch a month ago and you bring someone in? Is there anyone else that could get this team to play the right way that they need them to play right now? Right? I mean, you can probably count maybe on one hand, like
I mean, the Thunder, that Thunder coach seems really freaking good.
sure, right?
I mean,
But
there's a lot of good coaches, but
yeah,
yes, I know what you're saying.
right. It's like he builds these relationship with these players, and it's not always smooth sailing. Like there's going to be times where Rob is mad because he's not getting minutes as a 20-year-old on the team that's trying to make it far in the playoffs. I mean, there's going to be guys like Julius Randle that even he might get a little frustrated at first, even though he's close with Chris Finch. Like, what is my role so much different than what it was before? And even Ant talks about it, very vivid, candidly about that. He used to feel like he was getting tested by Chris Finch in film study all the time. Where it's like, I feel like this guy's trying to test me as a man, and he's like learned over time. Like, no, like Chris is challenging me to be a better player, and I have to accept that and accept the coaching. And look at how much Ant has developed. And so I think we really got to give Chris Finch his flowers here. Look, I am a Chris Finch stan, so like again, you can call me biased if you want, but you look at the talent on the team that the Wolves have and how they've been playing, and then you compare them to like this maybe shooting fish in a barrel here, but you look at the Phoenix Suns, for example. Like they've changed out NBA champion head coach Frank Vogel,
Oof.
for Mike Budenholzer, who's a recent coach of the year and also NBA champion coach as well too. And they have all the talent on the paper, on the not all the talent, but they have a ton of like talent on their roster, a lot of money going into that as well too. It just shows you that you can't just like move shit around and expect it just to work out. Like there takes time. It takes time to bake a cake. Like you can't just go ahead and all right, well let's just get a new oven because this one didn't seem like it worked right. Like you gotta get the ingredients right, you gotta get the temperature right, and then you might fail a couple times, but eventually you'll get it right. And I think that's what Chris Finch has been doing. And I love that what you said about that. He's getting information even from these incorrect calls that he's making, whether it's clutch time rotation or whether it's lengthening the rotation or maybe giving Joe Ingles too many minutes early in the season. Whatever it is, he's doing that with a goal in mind. Where it's not, well, I'm just doing it because I feel like it. I'm doing it because it's providing a data point, like you said, that's going to be used later on. And so I think that's again, we have to feel very, very comfortable. At least I feel like Wolves fans should be a little bit more comfortable with the fact that we have someone at the helm like this that we can trust. And hopefully, if his relationship with Tim Connelly continues to be solid and Tim Connelly sticks around, we'll have Chris Finch for a very, very long time.
Yeah, the biggest thing to me is the past 2 seasons with Rudy, the offense has not been very good. And now this year they're up to 10th. And maybe Rudy missing some games here and there. Although I'm not sure he's really missed more games than he did a season ago by a large margin. Like they've got the offense up to 10th, which is huge for me because they were not close to that last year or the year before. All right, with that, we'll move on to our prey of the week. Who do the Wolves make their prey? Mine, quick one, the injury report. They finally don't have this lengthy injury report. Other than the G League guys, it was basically completely clean as of game time. So that was my prey of the week. Is they killed the injury report.
Yo, Ryan, I'm sorry to tell you this. I have some breaking news. At 10 a.m. Pacific, so my time, the Iowa Wolves were playing the Oklahoma City Blue. And the Wolves had just sent Jesse Edwards, Tristan Newton, and Leonard Miller down, our precious young Wolves down to Oklahoma to go play the Iowa City Blue. And Leonard Miller sprains his ankle and has to exit the game. So I'm sorry, right? The injury report is, yes, I agree with you. It is
I did
mostly
say
clean
other
now.
than the
Yeah.
G League guys.
Right, other than the G League guys. So,
I know he's on the main roster too, but
right. So prayers up for Leonard Miller. He was able to kind of walk off in his own power, and they were already kind of getting blown out at that point. But I did watch him roll his ankle when he was driving one time. So unfortunately he's hurt. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's a great pray because that injury report has been rough these last couple months, and so again, just to see it come clean is like it's almost unbelievable. And I want to just kind of knock on wood right now, even though we're talking about it, because it is something that it's we should be reminded of how blessed we are to have a clean injury sheet right now. I know, right, for a lot of people, including myself, who play fantasy basketball, it's fantasy basketball playoffs right now, and there's a lot of random injuries popping up. I think Jalen Brunson obviously got hurt recently. I think Jalen Williams on the Thunder had to leave today's game as well too. So there's still a lot of guys that are still going down in real life sports right now. So again, hopefully the Wolves have avoided the worst of it right now, and hopefully they could just have a couple rest days on the injury report and nothing more than that.
Yep, that's why you play rotisserie leagues, Leo. So you're not beholden to mid-March NBA basketball.
Yeah.
But how about you? What's your prey of the week?
My prey of the week is also an inanimate object. It is the end of the quarter buzzer. Those of you who obviously have been following the Wolves, it feels like for their entire existence, they've been getting the shit end of the stick when it comes to end of the quarter execution. So you can blame the team for that sometimes. But sometimes it's just bad luck. Guys hitting half court shots, guys hitting wild heaves at the end off a broken play. Well, it feels like for the first time in a long while, the Wolves finally saw an end of the quarter prayer fall in their favor. Mike Conley against the 76ers a couple days ago. I think he turned the ball over. He was very frustrated at himself. I don't know if the Sixers scored or not in that next play. I think the Wolves got a turnover right at the end, and Mike Conley just crossed half court and launched up pretty much a half court heave, and it just went right in. And it was just like, oh my god, we finally got one. So it's like, all right, in your face, stupid buzzer. When you hit zeros, we finally hit a shot at the buzzer.
Yeah, and I believe they were tied, and the game they probably still win that game. Obviously, if that shot doesn't go down, but it happened to be like the swing point in that game for whatever reason. But yeah, it was good to finally be on the right side of that because, like you said, even like just like shot clock, like not even just game clock. Like he's like other team has the ball with the second and a half. Here's a moon ball that switches through.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, it is like you said. I think once Mike hit that three, it was the first time. I think maybe 7 or 8 consecutive threes the Wolves hit to start the next quarter. So it definitely was like foreshadowing what was to come. So yeah, I mean, shout out Mike. I mean, it feels like he's been kind of had a rough season himself, obviously. So to see him hit that one felt extra good.
Going back to our topic of like the schedule and playing easier things, the other like weird variance thing is like shot variance is a big thing. The Wolves have just been shooting the ball better, and obviously a large part of that is generating good looks, but also like the in depth stats just also says they're hitting shots that they weren't earlier in the year, the past couple of games. So that's a big part of it too. Okay, last segment here, playtime. Before we give our 2 words, just want to kind of give a quick standings update where the Wolves are at. LeBron got hurt, so he's out for I think at least a couple weeks. They lost to the Nets today on Monday. That I don't think the Lakers are going to be the 2 seed. Maybe they might drop beyond Memphis at 4, and so they could drop. Memphis is currently tied with them for the 3 seed, just percentage points back, and then it's the Wolves are they're not tied with the Warriors. They have an extra loss and an extra win, so they're I guess the Warriors won, so they're a half game behind the Warriors, 1 game in the loss column. So just kind of thinking about where the Wolves could finish, I do kind of the 5 seed might actually be in play. Houston lost Thompson, so maybe they haven't really been playing well all that much. The frustrating part is I would talk about the schedule is the 2 teams that they'd want to pass, Golden State and Houston, also have fairly easy schedules. Certainly more than the Wolves, and the Warriors more than Houston is their tough schedule, but they don't have, like, if you look at Phoenix's schedule is impossible, Sacramento's schedule is impossible, the Clippers' schedule is harder, even like Memphis or LA. So unfortunately, the Golden State and Houston don't have those schedules. But like I said, the Wolves have an easy schedule, and I do think that they have a very good chance of catching the Warriors, certainly, and maybe even an outside chance at Houston.
Yeah, I think you think about it just from week to week, it's going to vary so much because of how close everything is. But when you look at the standings right now, Wolves obviously in 7th with a 5-game win streak, and of course the team they're trying to chase, the Warriors, also 5-game win streak. Ryan and I were looking at their schedule earlier. The Warriors have had a ton of easy opponents as well too, and their schedule is going to be a little bit harder standings wise than the Wolves, but not by much. It's a little bit tough to be like, all right, it feels like we can't really catch a break in the standings. But like I said, a week ago, the Wolves were tied for 8th with the Sacramento Kings. But I mean, you look around, okay, the Grizzlies have won 3 in a row. The Rockets won 3 in a row. The Warriors won 5 in a row. We've won 5 in a row. The Clippers even have won 3 in a row, including a huge win against the Kings the other day where Kawhi hits that game winner. The Kings have lost just 1 game in a row now. It's about to be 2. They're about to lose to the Knicks. I think Cat is a game high 26 points. Shout out Cat. But with that loss, I mean, the Kings are going to fall 3 games behind the Wolves now, all the way down from basically tied with us near the 7-8, all the way down to 9. So it's going to be anytime you drop a game is to be really, really tough. And the Kings dropped one, and the Mavs and the Suns, one of them's going to have to be the sacrificial lamb to take that 10th seed in the play-in tournament there. But yeah, overall, I mean, standings wise, again, it's what makes it so exciting. I think that's definitely one thing that Adam Silver and the powers that be that decided to do this play-in tournament have really done an excellent job, especially with so much parity and talent in the West, at least, where you look at it, it's like, man, like so many games, every little game matters right now. I mean, the Mavericks even beating the Spurs today, that mattered for them. They're trying to avoid getting usurped by the Phoenix Suns for that 10th seed. So it's like every little game counts. It's fun to watch, and at least we're not in the bottom looking in. I think I'd be saying this is terrible to watch if we were in the 9-10 seed. I'm just like worried about us missing the play-in tournament. But from this standing, it's like, all right, it's exciting.
Yeah, it's hard to see the Wolves falling below 8th, and even I'd be surprised at this point if the Clippers pass them with their harder schedule, with being a couple wins back and the tiebreaker. But yeah, the Warriors and Rockets might be tough to catch. I do think maybe one thing the Wolves should be targeting in their mind is if the Lakers do slip a bit and Memphis is the 3 seed, that's probably the best case scenario. Memphis at 3. If the Wolves can get up to 6, that's about as good as you can realistically get. I'd much rather face Memphis than Denver or Los Angeles. So that'd probably be the ideal scenario. But like you said, it's fluent, or it's a fluid situation that isn't much worth discussing beyond what we already have. lastly, our parting 2 words here. Mine are keep going. They got a 5-game winning streak. Keep it going. Obviously, you got a tough game in Denver on Wednesday. No shame losing that game. Obviously, they can win it, but after that, you got 6 games at home, all of which against teams you should beat. I guess they got an Indiana game that's a solid team, but at home you should beat them. Otherwise, it's below 500 opponents, 3 of which New Orleans, and Utah are tanking. So I guess maybe the New Orleans isn't tanking, but they have not won many games this year. So that 5-game, you'd ideally like to go 4-1 in that 5-game homestand, if not 5-0. Maybe rope in that Denver game, and you're looking at 4-2, 5-1, and then you're really heading into the home stretch with a solid record. How about you, Louis?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they would be, just to speak on your point about keep going. I mean, I think putting the Wolves in that driver's seat, they would control their own destiny. I feel like if they go 4-1 or 5-0 in these next set of games, and the Nuggets, I mean, they just got through kind of clash of the Titans with the Thunder playing 2 nights in a row against that top seed. And I know Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic were questionable going to today, and they pulled out a big win where they kind of won convincingly there, pulled away in the fourth quarter, kind of reversed the face. But they have one day off before they face the Wolves on Wednesday, which is going to be big because their game right after that is against the Lakers, which is a much more important game to them than playing the Timberwolves on Wednesday. So I'm not hoping that they're going to rest their guys, but Aaron Gordon's out, with the injury right now. And I mean, Jamal Murray's got, I think, a thing with his ankle, I think, or his wrist. And Jokic has been a little bit banged up as well, too, with his elbow, too. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. My 2 words, Ryan, is hold serve. Minnesota needs to not rest on their laurels right now, and need to continue taking every game very seriously. I think that's kind of the problem that we saw earlier in the season, where it's like they were playing a Blazers, or they're playing a Wizards, or the Bucks without their star players, or they're like, all right, well, let's just kind of take it easy and we'll just kind of win at the end. They have to take it seriously like they have been these last 5 games. They can't lose sight of the beautiful basketball they've been playing. That brand is really going to keep going if they continue to stay locked in and stay focused. So even if they don't win every game, say they lose against the Nuggets, they can't just turn on themselves and continue playing that basketball that was so annoying to watch, where it's like, all right, well, Ant's kind of fed up with us. We haven't scored in 4 possessions, so he's going to take the next 5 shots without passing once. They have to continue buying into that, even if it's not going to yield in maybe a win. They have to build those habits and build upon them. So, yeah, you got a hold serve right now. They're not in a terrible position. They could very much still finish out above the play-in tournament.
Yep. And they've been doing that recently. Like we said, they beat 5 straight below average opponents, and really haven't. Only the Miami game was close, and even that the final score overrates how close that was. So like you said, they just got to keep it up.
Yep.
But that'll do it for us. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you later this week.
Thanks for listening. Get home, drive safe.
Go Wolves.
Ayoo!